Hello and welcome back to the Road to Good Cooking, and today I'm going to show you what I do with tomatoes that go bad in my vegetable bin. And with all the talk in the news about tomato shortages, we can't afford to be wasting anything. And I'm also going to show you my pineapple pepper jelly video that I made last week. So grab a cup of coffee or a Coke or some water or whatever you're drinking, sit back and relax, and let's get started. I shot this video when I was living with my sister after I had my knee surgery and I was recuperating, so I stayed with my sister for about a year. And during that time, the spacing was kind of limited as far as where I stored my groceries and how they stored their groceries. And a lot of times I would buy produce and we would, put it in the bin. And with all the stuff that was in the bin, I totally forgot that these tomatoes were in there, which is how it got to this point. So what I did, I started off with some hot boiling water, and I put about 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt in the water, and I dropped all the tomatoes in there, and I'm going to leave them in there just long enough to loosen up the skin. And you'll see here in a second how easy it is to peel that skin off. And this is what my tomatoes looked like in that bin. Some of them had little soft spots, some of them had dark spots, and as you just saw that. And, I wasn't about to waste these tomatoes. That was a lot of tomatoes to go to waste or to throw away. And I wasn't trying to throw away my tomatoes. So I did the next best thing. I tried, I'm preserving them because I don't believe in throwing away food. I hate throwing away food. That just gets on underneath my skin doing that. But, like I said, during this time, we were limited for space, and a lot of times stuff would be in the refrigerator and you wouldn't find it until it got to this point. After a few minutes in the hot water, I took my tomatoes out of the boiling water and put it on a plate. And from there, I started removing the peel, which is real easy to take off after it being in that hot water. And this was at the very beginning of the pandemic, and my sister and my brother-in-law, they were stocking up their pantry just like I was trying to, buy all the stuff that I needed to, for my little part of the pantry that I had. So we had, the spacing really did become an issue because my sister shops like I do. We don't play. My mama taught us how to shop, and we both shop like there was no tomorrow because, we're all at that age where getting out to the stores, it was really a hassle. My brother-in-law has a couple of underlying health issues, so it was really difficult for, him being out with a mask on, and he has breathing problems already. So, we were trying to be proactive and buying more groceries than what we needed so we wouldn't have to get out so often. So that's the story of how my produce got bad. And, my produce, I would lose produce. My sister would forget about stuff and she would lose stuff. But, we did the best we could with the limited space that we had. So see how easy this is. You saw me burning my fingers. I had to go and get a fork so I can hold on to that hot tomato because it is hot coming out of that water. All right, I'm all done with the tedious part. Now from here, I'm adding some avocado oil in this super cool pan. My sister has the coolest pans. I tried to steal this pan when I left, but she wouldn't let me have it. And I tell you what, her kitchen, you can tell we're sisters because we both have kitchen gadgets galore. We both have pots and pans galore. I don't have this particular size pan, but after using it for a year, living there, I'm going to find me a pan this size. And I don't have any non-stick pans like this, so I'm going to have to find me one. And I'm adding all the smashed up tomatoes along with the juice. I tried to get it in the pot, but as you see, I made a mess on the pan and on my sister's stove. I did that a lot when I lived there. But I cleaned up after myself. All right, I have like I said, I have the pan over medium-high heat, and I'm going to let it I'm going to bring it up to a rolling boil, and then I'm going to season it up. I'm not going to season it with a lot of crazy seasoning, just some salt, pepper, and garlic, and some minced garlic, because whatever I use this in, I'll be adding seasoning for that particular recipe. So I'm just going to kind of use basic seasonings to season it up. Does that make sense? Okay, you got it, right? And here's my little makeshift seasoning. Don't judge my little container because all my stuff was in storage at this time. The minced garlic is going in. And this smells so good. And I'm going to give it a quick stir to make sure everything is well incorporated. And I'm going to reduce the heat down to probably medium low. And I chopped up the big pieces that I missed and just stirred it all up. And from here I'm just going to let it cook down, and from time to time I'll stop in and give it a quick stir. Here's my sauce. As you can see, it's getting thicker. Now, if you wanted to make pasta sauce, if I were making pasta sauce, I would stop at this point right here and then start adding everything I needed for my pasta sauce. But being as I'm going to make this batch tomato paste, I'm going to let it go until all the liquids are gone. See, I still got quite a bit of liquids, and it smells phenomenal. Almost where I want it. Look at that. And when it gets to this point, you know it's just about there. And I'm going to let it go a little bit further. If I had some red wine, I'd be splashing some red wine in here right about now, and that's really going to intensify that flavor. Okay, here we are. This is where I'm going to stop, because it's still spreadable at this point. All the liquid has cooked out. It's just intensified that tomato flavor. And from here I'm going to let it cool off before I put it in a airtight container. That way I'll have it for whatever I need it for. And there it is, and it smells wonderful. And check this out. I got some homemade tomato paste, and it is absolutely delicious. I'm going to hit it with some fresh cracked black pepper and then let it sit in the bowl until it cools off. And once it's cooled off, I'll transfer it to a airtight container or a jar, and then top it with some more avocado oil. I'll be keeping it in the refrigerator. Even though those tomatoes looked a little gnarly, I didn't throw them away. I just repurposed them. And these days, when groceries are going up sky high, we can't afford to be throwing away food. So this is just another way of preserving what you have. Here's my dinner for tonight. You remember in the last video I told you that I had made some enchiladas? Well, this is what I did. I made some enchiladas. And I made 3 trays like this. They're in the freezer. And that's 2 meals for me in 1 tray. So I'm going to eat half of it tonight, and then I'll eat the other half tomorrow. And I will probably repurpose it. Remember, here we go with the repurposing again. Because whenever I make stuff, I always make it for something else, you know? So I can use it for something else too. So I'm going to eat this half today, and I'll have that tomorrow, and I'll probably make some nachos out of that. Alrighty, so let me get everything warmed up. My sauce is over here warming up. And I'm going to put my enchiladas right in that salsa. And that's going to be as good as the day that I made it. Always plan ahead. My enchiladas are warmed up, and I am topping them with some lettuce. Lots of lettuce. I love lettuce. Jerry used to tease me all the time. He says, why don't you put some food on your lettuce? But anyway, I'm topping it with lettuce and tomatoes and onions. And I'm not going to top with any extra cheese because I have tons of cheese in the enchiladas. I have lots of peppers in there, lots of green peppers, lots of jalapenos. What else did I put? Oh, I put some banana peppers in there. And and I have sour cream in there, so I'm not going to add all those things. I could add some avocado on the top, but no, I don't think I need it because this is perfect. It's the perfect meal. Just like that. All I need is an ice cold beer. Dinner is served. After my canning project last week of doing the pineapple and making the jalapeno jelly, I had a lot of pineapple left over and I had about 3 or 4 jalapenos left over. So I went on the hunt on YouTube like we all do when we're looking for something. And I figured it had to be channels out there, canning channels that made pineapple jelly. So I went on the hunt and I ran across Mama Sue Garrett, and I loved her recipe. I loved her channel, and I am making her recipe. And one thing, guys, when you use someone else's recipe, always give the creator the person that created the original recipe, always give them credit, for using their recipe. And I truly appreciate finding a recipe that I absolutely loved. And her channel is awesome. I put her video link for her pineapple jalapeno jelly in the description box below, so check it out. Now, the only thing that I changed, well, I didn't change. I didn't have any lemon juice on hand at the time I made this. So I just had some pineapple juice. So I used pineapple juice instead of lemon juice. And Mama Sue had 1.5 teaspoons of red pepper flakes in hers. And I only had like maybe a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes left in my pantry. And the next time I make this, I'm going to make sure that I have some red pepper flakes because it really does look awesome in the contrast with the color of the pineapple and the jalapeno. And then you have little specks of red pepper flakes, and it really did look awesome. So I'm going to make sure that I have some next time. And I totally forgot that I was supposed to make a pint jar full of this jelly for the client that ordered all that jalapeno jelly last week. So I'm going to have to fudge it and pour one of my jars out, and that should solve my story. End of story. Problem solved. There. Now, you saw me put just a little bit of jelly in a few of the jars, and the reason being is that I'm standing right underneath the air conditioning vent, and the cool air blows on me to keep me cool in the kitchen when I'm in here. And I didn't want my temperate jars to cool off, so I put some hot jelly in there to make sure that they would, maintain that temperature before I put them in the water bath. Alrighty? In case you was wondering what I was doing. In case you're wondering, okay, Miss J, what's happening there? How come you're only putting a spoonful in that jar? Nah, no worries. And this is my jar. And I'm just going to pour some of it to fill up the pint jar. See? Sometimes you got to improvise. I'm wiping off the tops of my jars and around the rim just to make sure that I get a nice tight seal. And I have had the best time canning. I used to do that years ago, like I was telling you in the last video. I used to do it years ago, and I just kind of got out of the habit of doing it. But now that we have to really kind of watch our food levels and, making sure that our pantries are stocked, now I'm back at it, and I'm just absolutely loving it. And you know what else I've been doing is making candles. Sure have. I'm loving that. So I got plenty to do to keep me busy. I'm never bored. I don't know why people say, well, I'm so bored. I'm never bored. Yeah, these jars are hot. And I need to find the rest of my canning stuff. I have, a lot of canning stuff that I had packed away that I hadn't used, and I just need to find it. I have one of those jar holders. I got the, the funnel. I got a couple of different funnels out there. I just got to go dig through my garage, but now it's just too doggone hot to be digging around in the garage, so I'm going to wait till it cools off, and then I'll go and find the rest of my canning stuff. And I hope you guys have been enjoying the vlogs. I love to just tinker and mess around in the kitchen. And now that I'm on my canning adventure, There's no telling what I'm going to can next. Now, the only thing that I'm not doing, and I don't think I will do, is can meat products, because I keep all of my meat in my deep freezer. And I know someone is going to say, well, what if you lose your power? What are you going to do? Well, if you keep your freezer full, which I try to keep my freezer full at all times, the frozen foods should keep for about 48 hours. And if it's half full, which happens some months with me, the frozen foods will keep for about 24 hours. And another safety precaution I've taken, I bought a couple of extra cases of bottled water, and I have one full case that lines the bottom of my deep freezer, and then I have a shelf, a little small shelf over it, to elevate it up a little bit. That way when I put the meat and stuff back in there, it won't crush the bottles. And that too will help keep the food nice and cold, frozen in the event that we lose power. And if we lose water for some strange reason, I know that I have, fresh water for Sophie and I. All I got to do is take those bottles out of there and thaw it out. And I also have some in my freezer in my kitchen, on my refrigerator. And Nevada Power is real good about notifying us via text message that there's a power outage. And they're never really that long, just maybe an hour or so. And I don't worry about those because I know how long they're going to last. What bugs me are the power spikes. And it's usually at a time when I'm working on my computer and we lose the power for 5 or 10 minutes or so. And it's usually when I don't have my work saved and then I end up losing everything, and it drives me absolutely insane. But that's neither here nor there. And that's another reason why I started making candles. So if we do lose our power, I can at least, light my house up with my beautifully scented candles, and I'll have light. And I'll probably invest in a small generator this year because my house is not that big. And I think having a generator, that's kind of like my backup option for power. And I'll be able to keep my refrigerator and my freezer plugged in, as well as my phone charged. That way, in the case of an emergency, I can call someone. So stay prepared, stay focused, and stay prayed up because God is still in control. All right, everybody's going into the water bath, and going back to my roots back in the day. My parents taught us all how to cook. They taught us how to can. They taught us how to make bread, and my mama could cook a chicken and cook it 75 different ways, and it would be delicious each time we had it. So doing all this stuff, like I said, is nothing new for me. The one thing that I am really, really, really enjoying is seeing some of these young people that they have homesteads. They're living off the land. They're living off the grid. They're growing magnificent gardens, and they're, eating the food that they're growing, and they're self-sufficient. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. That's truly a blessing. And I am praying that God will bless me and Sophie with a little piece of dirt somewhere where I can have a little garden and Sophie have a place to run around, and that's on my bucket list. All right, my project is finished. There's my little half pint there, half of the half pint, and that big one there is for my client. I have one for my sis, and then I'm going to put 3 in my pantry. So I'm done for this project for today. All right, the next day I made some Italian bread, and it was super delicious. Here's the recipe, so make sure you come back to this and write it down. The one thing that I have to emphasize here is do not exceed 5.5 cups of flour. Otherwise, your bread is going to be really super tough. And after I mixed it up, I formed it to a nice smooth ball, covered it up, and let it rest for 20 minutes. And then at the end of 20 minutes, I took it out uncovered the bowl and kneaded it, made the size that I wanted, like the long piece and the 3 short ones. And then I let it rest for another 20 minutes. And after that, it went into a 375-degree oven till it was golden brown and delicious. And after that, I'm slathering it with some butter. And you can't have fresh bread without it being slathered with butter. And I love making bread. I love to share it with my neighbors, and they all get a big kick out of getting a loaf of bread, especially when it's hot out the oven. And the big one in the back here, that one there, I took that up to my neighbor that lives upstairs, and I told her to cut it in half and share it with Miss Judy, the other little lady that lives across the way from me there. And they got a jar of jelly, and Miss Judy called me today, or excuse me, Miss Nancy called me today and said that she loved her bread and thanked me for it. And, you know, I look at it this way. We have to share our blessings, especially have to share with elderly neighbors, you know, because we're all going to be there one day. I'm already there. And I give all thanks and glory to God that I'm still able to do the things that I do. And with my bread, you know, I had to make me a couple of pieces of sausage. This is a sausage that I made the other day, and it was super good with this little piece of bread. And I had to taste it. Look how soft and squishy it is. And then it's nice and crispy, crunchy on the bottom. I slathered it with some butter, and I'm going to have it with that pineapple jelly, and it was so, so good. Now, I didn't make my pineapple jelly with a whole lot of peppers in it, but now that I've tasted it, and it's super good. And I was pretty much worried about the elderly people that I was going to give the jelly to, and I didn't want it to make it too hot for them, but they all said that they enjoyed it. So I think next time I'm going to add maybe another pepper to it, and I know I'm going to add the red pepper flakes because I just liked the way it looked, and I'm sure that's going to bump up the heat level just a tad bit. And see the peppers in there? Oh, it's just so good. It really is good. And I thank you, Mama Sue, for this recipe. The moment of truth. And it's super delicious, just like I knew it would be. Okay, this is the next day, and I had to make another batch of bread because I gave away all that batch that I made yesterday. Hey, that's what you do. You share your blessings, right? So I just made another batch. I'll keep one this time for myself, maybe. But these are going to some more neighbors. And you know, during this time, we need to share our blessings the best way we can. I don't have any money to give anybody, but I sure as hell can make some bread and feed somebody. And I have a couple more jars of jelly left over, and who's getting these loaves will also get a jar of jelly. So that's what I'm doing today. I hope you guys are having a good day. Today's Thursday, and I suspect I will have me a chicken sandwich today, because I had some chicken left over from dinner last night, so I'll just make that into a sandwich. Okay, have a good Thursday. And check out my little midday snack. I took my olive oil. I'm going to put it in this little dish right here. Then I'm going to add some balsamic vinegar to this olive oil. Just like that. Yes, I get carried away because I love balsamic vinegar. Then you take a piece of that bread, fresh baked Italian bread, dip it in that olive oil with that balsamic vinegar. I tell you what, you're going to think you done died and went to heaven when you take a bite of it. I know I did. I love it. This is my favorite way to eat Italian bread. And tomorrow I'm going to make some pasta, and this is going to be great with my pasta dish tomorrow. I might even toss me a Caesar salad. But yeah, this is good. You got to try this. You can thank me later. Here's my chicken sandwich. And I didn't have any tomatoes, so I didn't put any tomatoes on there, but I got lots of onions. And I have my homemade sweet honey mustard sauce that I dress my bread with. And it's on my fresh baked Italian bread. Now that's what I call a sandwich. That's a sandwich. Look at that. I put some extra onions on the side, because you know me and my onions. Heck, I ain't kissing nobody tonight. And for my neighbor that I gave the bread to, I think this is a pretty good exchange. And it's really good too. Watermelon sangria. Who knew? That's going to be awfully tasty with my sandwich. Okay, bon appetit to me. Have a good weekend. Thank you for stopping by the Road to Good Cooking and spending a few minutes of your time with me today. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad to have you as a family member. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with everyone you know in the universe. Be safe out there, stay blessed, and keep on cooking.